What's up, fam? Welcome to this week's episode of Off the Reservation, a show that is chizzier than you. I'm your number one wizard, Mal.
I'm El.
And I'm the son of Picasso.
I'm chizzier than you.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's chizzier than me. Don't look at my elbows.
That's why my arms are covered. Anyways.
What's up, guys? Welcome back.
Yeah, and I think okay, so we had a lot of fun our last episode that we let it run for 2 weeks.
Hold on. For the non-Navajo speakers, interpret that joke for them.
Oh, chiz? Let's see. Okay, so chiz is translated to like firewood, stuff that you would use for firewood, and so it's supposed to be the representation of like your arms are all chapped or like
ashy.
Yeah. And so it's supposed to represent like chizzy elbows, your ashy elbows. Saying you got bark for skin or something like that, you know? It's that kind of a thing.
You're made of kindling.
Yeah. You're so chizzy, you could start a fire if you...
Yeah. So it tends to be like, well, for me specifically, it's like my knuckles.
Yeah.
Well, I guess because I'm like, I'm like that like certain type of like brown.
Well, it's starting to get cold and you're starting to dry out more with the...
Yeah, it
weather.
is. It's getting chillier out here.
Back in the day, that used to be my alias. Chizzy.
Little
Chizzy.
Or
my street
Yasha.
name, Chizzy Yasha.
All right. Hey, man. Yeah, thanks guys for checking out our last episode. We were really excited. Again, if you haven't seen
Predator. Prey.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Prey, check it out on Hulu. I actually watched it again.
Yeah. It's I mean, every time I've watched it, I think I've watched it 3 times now.
Yeah.
Every time it gets even better.
Yeah, and Jane was just so fun to have on the show.
Yeah,
so.
she was cool.
Seriously, after she was leaving, she had... Like, I was like, oh, that was so cool. And she was like, oh, did you know about this? Did you know about this? And kept telling me stuff
She's
afterwards.
Like an encyclopedia.
I know, we should have her back later on.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Talk about it some more.
Well, hey, what are we talking about today, Mel?
So, one of the things we wanted to bring up, talk about was Shasheen Littlefeather.
Yeah.
So just a little background information on her. Everyone, if you haven't heard about her, she was born in 1946. And recently, she just passed away on October 2nd.
Just this past week. And
the reason why she's a person of note is she was the person that received and declined Marlon Brando's Best Actor Award in the 45th Academy Awards.
It was for The Godfather, huh?
Yeah, for The Godfather.
Ooh, that's a good movie, too.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. You know, you think about it like The Godfather. It was, I mean, today... It's a staple in cinema, you know, like people are like, did you ever see The Godfather? Like, yeah, of course we all. But, you know, she had gotten up and accepted and declined the award for him.
Well, she didn't accept it. She went up
and declined it.
Declined it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what the cool thing was that she was dressed in
regalia.
Yes. You know, and then she went and made a whole speech, right?
Yeah, and so her speech was basically saying that she wanted Marlon Brando wanted to call attention to, I believe it was the Hollywood portrayal of Native Americans in cinema, and to call attention to the standoff at Wounded Knee. And I think that's, you know, that's been one of those things that like Native Americans' history has been brushed under the rug for so long.
Yeah.
And I mean, like anyone before, like any Native Americans in any of the movies during that time were essentially bullet catchers. They just rode in on a horse, got shot, and fell off the horse, and that was about it.
Or they weren't even played by Native Americans.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? It was a lot of Italians playing, you know, Native Americans, or even just, you know, good old Euro Americans with paint on.
You know what I think is dope about that is like Marlon Brando was plugged in. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't just something that you would just turn on the news and see.
Yeah.
At that time, he had to have known people in the know. And then 2, it's kind of like, okay, so I'm kind of off the topic here, but like I remember reading about this right when I was a kid. And I ended up finding out about John Wayne and how he was like pissed at all of this whole thing, and like he cussed her out and was like, she'll never work in Hollywood and this and that.
Yeah.
And as a kid, like I grew up watching Westerns with my dad. You know what I mean? We're native artists. It's cool to like look at older, cinematic movies and just get inspired and things.
Was it Little House on the Prairie?
And like, at a certain point, John Wayne was the shit. Like, he'd walk in and like roundhouse people with like a big old fist. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was cool. Okay. And after that, I was just like, I lost respect for the Duke. You know what I mean? And so shortly after that, I made a painting called With John Wayne's Gun. And it's this native holding this big old gun. And like, he like took it from John Wayne. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it was just like, you slowly, when things like that happen, like people that are real racist, they show their true colors of who they are.
So like along that same lines, like I remember our dad telling us stories about how when he was growing up in Utah, he had a bunch of friends. He was the only Native American in this community because it was Utah, and all the
it was
Euro-American
army base too, right?
Yeah, and it was all the Euro-American kids were like, we want to be Indians, and so Dad played the only cavalry. And it was this whole like dichotomy of like, I'm Native but I'm supposed to be doing this, and how even though they were two different people, they were supposedly opposing sides in this ongoing war, they still were friends and still had all these things. But like for a long time, like white people were always wanted to be natives. And it's that thing of like coming together, like that influence from the cinema of being the natives, being the scary, being the like how Bugs Bunny does it, one little, two little, three little Indians, and then that's a half breed, that whole thing, and how Native Americans have been portrayed this whole thing. It was what she was speaking out about. And just so everyone knows, the significance of this was the fact that she had given this speech, and half the audience applauded her and was like, oh yeah, that's cool, and then the other half booed her. And just like you said, like John Wayne had gotten up and talked bad about her and said she's not
it was like our Rosa Parks moment, you know what I mean?
But at the same time, because we're Native, it's a footnote.
Yeah.
The bigger thing is that Marlon Brando declined.
Yeah, it all went back to all the
to Brando.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a whole thing of like, no, this person's being culturally persecuted for participating in a non-Native American's protest. And that's kind of the way it's always been, is Native Americans get persecuted for non-natives protests. And so I mean that's how I see it. But yeah, so after that, she was obviously blackballed in the film industry. Eventually she went in to do hospice work. She continued doing hospice work, and then did more activism on the side.
Yeah, she was a big Indigenous Peoples activist,
Yes.
And will continue to be.
Yeah.
And so we just wanted to shed some light on her. If you don't know a lot about her, like we did, I mean, I didn't personally. So, do some research, check her out.
Wikipedia is still free.
Yeah. Check out her speech and see what all she was about.
And like things like that make important. Good bedtime stories for your kids. Like I remember growing up and like my dad would tell us stories about like Geronimo stopping time in the sky to fight the Mexican army.
Tell me the time Sacheen Feather rejected the Oscar for Marlon Brando. Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
That was a good time.
All right. Well, hey guys, we're gonna take a quick break, and
the big thing about that is that just recently in June, the Academy had issued an apology for the whole thing. So that's one of the big things. And then evening they had a evening with.
Late. Yeah. We don't need your apology.
But yeah, she passed away in October.
I think she knew she didn't need their apology. No. She didn't need their recognition,
And I think that's the big thing is natives don't need these Euro-American institutions recognition anymore.
No, we just need our reparations.
Yeah.
Made whole again. Anyway, take us a break.
Yeah. We'll be right back after these short messages. And we're back. And we hope you guys are enjoying this so far. I think the interesting thing is over this week, this Monday was just Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah, this past Monday. Mm-hmm. Well, when this episode airs, Indigenous Peoples Day will have just passed.
Yeah.
Formerly known as
Columbus Day.
Columbus.
The original terrorists.
Indigenous Peoples Day. Do you guys know when that kicked, when we switched that over? That was just in like 2020, I think, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
When it President Biden made it a thing.
Honestly, I mean, before that, it feels like it was a thing long before that, because I remember, once native people, as well as like those beyond the border, the Mexican people, they began to push for this idea of like, we're all Native Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth. If you have indigenous people's blood and you were anywhere located within the Americas, you're an indigenous person.
Oh, that's north, south, up into Canada. I mean, it's we're all indigenous. I mean, if you were here.
Yeah. I mean, you think of like a Peruvian and everyone else down Brazilian, they're all indigenous peoples.
Mm-hmm.
And the United States does not seem to like to acknowledge that. They want us all in our separate categories to keep us divided. And therefore that's a lot of this Columbus Day whole thing is like, he came over, conquered, and therefore called us all Indian. And I think that's been the biggest controversy with that is we are Native Americans.
Mm-hmm.
I'm losing it.
Yeah, I was like, what am I? All right, let's rewind that. Son Picasso, tell us a little bit about your views on this upcoming Indigenous Peoples Day. No, though, I mean, it's coming up, and I think one of the biggest topics that we had about it was that there was a divide, right? That it was previously Columbus Day, and I know a lot of Italian Americans are very proud of Columbus. Like I just watched Sopranos. And there was that whole episode they actually did where it was like there was protests. It was interesting because they had the Native Americans on there protesting, and then Tony Soprano and his whole crew were all upset. And it was how dare you besmirch the name of Christopher Columbus? And it was like,
and he's like, you don't like explorers?
You don't like explorers, huh? But there is a huge rift. And so like we were saying, Columbus Day is still on calendars. Mm-hmm. It is still, I think, technically a national holiday.
And federally recognized.
Yeah, yes. But then they also added Indigenous Peoples Day on the same day. And it's kind of like a gray area. It's like sort of is, sort of isn't. Regionally, it kind of like state by state can decide how they want to recognize it or celebrate it, I guess. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so one thing here in New Mexico, with our Albuquerque public schools, they recognize it as Indigenous Peoples Day and actually have the day off for the kids. Yeah. But as you found
in our school district, which, me and my family, we live in Rio Rancho, and they don't have it off, and they have to go to school.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those things where, I don't have any problem telling my kids what the holiday means. I don't have any problem writing to the school board and telling them, hey, we're Indigenous. My kids aren't going to be in attendance, and it's not going to be an unexcused absence. Like, you're going to correct this,
Yeah.
And, if you're a parent and you're an Indigenous and your school isn't participating in this holiday, by all means, write in and tell them, because if we don't voice this and tell the school system, look, this is something we acknowledge and we partake in, then it's never going to change,
It's one of those things where we need to start and continue to advocate for ourselves, because no one else will.
No one's going to stand up for us.
Yeah, no one else will,
Yeah.
And so that was
unless Marlon Brando hops up.
I know, right? Unless Marlon Brando comes back, wins another Oscar for Godfather Part 4. And he sends West Studio down.
He's like, I don't want this.
So we don't want it. No, but it's interesting, right? Because I almost feel like, well, what's the point of calling it Indigenous Peoples Day if we're still going to recognize it as Christopher Columbus Day? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, if you wanted to have both, just put it on separate days, It's almost like they just sometimes I just feel like so many things are declared or made just to pacify everybody,
Yeah.
And I think as a Native American, I'm kind of tired of just being pacified, you know what I mean? Of like, okay, well, here, we'll give you a little bit here, you can be happy with that, right? And
well, it's kind of like the whole mythology of Christopher Columbus is like ending. Like, we all know he was lost, first off. We all know, like, the reason why he came here was for trade routes. You weren't coming because you were exploring. Like, it's just this whole mythology that's coming undone. And it's like, we know that America needed that to get itself off the ground, right? For it to become a country. But it's like, okay, we've evolved. We're quote unquote woke, so to say. And it's like, now it's time to build off of truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have no problem telling my kids the truth.
Yeah. Have you told your kids about how Christopher Columbus was eyeing some quote unquote mermaids?
Yeah.
Have you heard that story?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
He has a journal entry, I guess, and he describes seeing 3 mermaids on his voyage here.
A lot of people think they were sea cows. The
They
manatees.
ended up, in reality, they were manatees.
And
And
apparently,
he
he tried to have relations with one of them.
that's the new mythos that's coming up about Christopher Columbus. Yes, he may have quote unquote discovered the New World, but he was also getting a little.
He was the first predator.
Did you?
The first predator to land.
Well, did you also hear that? So there's been a lot of people who have done some studies in the what was it, infectious diseases?
Yeah.
Historical infectious diseases. And they said that originally in the Americas there wasn't anything such as syphilis, and it didn't come across until Christopher Columbus came across.
Mm-hmm.
So
the same with weeds.
Patient zero.
The same with like pigeons and
Yeah,
I mean, there's just so many things that aren't native to, America that they brought over.
Yeah.
And so, but they were saying, like obviously Christopher Columbus did not have and bring any women with him, because women, aren't supposed to be on ships. So the only thing they had with them were sheep, and that's where syphilis comes from, is sheep's.
That makes sense.
So Christopher Columbus.
You heard it here, folks.
Yep.
You heard it here first, folks. All right. Hey, we're going to take another quick break because, I need to. I don't know. I don't know how I'm feeling about all this. I thought he was an explorer, man.
Hey, he's your guys' hero.
He was
Some of you
exploring.
guys.
He was exploring a lot more than we thought. Okay, all right, guys. We're gonna take a quick break, and we will be right back with Off the Reservation.
Hey guys, it's Elle. Just wanted to say thanks for tuning into the show. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe. And remember, do or do not, there is no try. Okay, so just do it. It's that easy. All right. Back to the show. Hope you guys enjoy. Thanks.
And we're back.
We are back.
And bah.
We are back.
Bah ran you.
Don't ruin sheep for me, all right?
No, that was Babe, bro. That was Babe. You remember Babe the pig?
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, speaking of
speaking of babes,
I was gonna say, speaking of pigs, like this Indigenous Peoples Day makes me think of like feast days and everything. Like, how would you want to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day? Would you want it like a Thanksgiving-esque kind of a thing, or do we need fireworks for Indigenous Peoples Day? I don't know what best represents Indigenous Peoples Day.
I don't know. I feel like we're writing the script as we go. Like we've never been given it before, so it's kind of like.
Well, so that's kind of where that's where we want to take this discussion, right? Because it is so new.
Yeah.
How do we as Native Indigenous people celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day?
Mm-hmm.
How do you create a new holiday, and what do you like? It's not like Christmas where it's had like hundreds and hundreds of years of
evolving and changing, and everybody throwing their little 2 cents in there, and now
then,
it's like,
and then Jesus was born, and they were like, hey, let's throw this on top of everything. It's like, how do we want to celebrate? Like, I don't know. For me, like, anytime natives get together, there's food involved, just like Hispanics and everything else. It's food. So I don't know. I mean, like we have our own religious holidays, like especially with the Pueblos, especially around here.
Yeah.
Having like their own feast days and stuff like
hey,
that.
shout out Taos family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know they just celebrated their feast day.
It was Sanji. Sanji.
Just recently.
Dude, I wanted to go so bad.
Were you able to go?
No, I wanted to go. We were working that weekend.
Oh,
but
man.
it always falls on like a weekday, and man, I was actually at work that day.
Wouldn't that be nice if you could like call in? Like, is that like acceptable? Be like, hey, I got some native shit going on.
You know what's interesting? At the hotel I work, it is on a pueblo, and they do allow. It's really only just their Pueblo people.
Yeah.
But they do. Like if there's like religious ongoings and stuff, they're like, I can't come in. I've got religious stuff, and it's like, oh. And as managers, you're just you have to you can't say no, It's like, oh. And I always thought that was at one point I thought it was kind of cool, right? It's cool that like they do that. They're advocating for their people and their religious freedoms. On the other hand, it sucks as a manager because sometimes it would happen like within like 4 hours of their shift, and then be like, sorry, we can't come in. It's
anybody
like,
who's never been to San Geronimo definitely needs to check it out. It's really cool.
Or any feast, any feast day, really. Like, because there is a lot here in New Mexico. We just promote Sanji a lot because
we're part Taos.
Yeah. And
to our family that's Taos, we see you. I'm looking at you.
Yeah, it's funny. So remember way back, I think in episode 1, I was telling you guys about my friend Jared. He went to Laguna.
Jared.
To their feast day. Yeah. Another friend of mine, another Euro-American. Now my other friend Will, shout out Will. You finally got that shout out, buddy. He was like, why don't you shout out Jared? Why don't you shout out me? I was like,
I'm waiting for episode 12 to show to.
I was like, you got to give me a reason, man.
We're gonna dedicate our entire episode.
He recently went to Laguna's feast day too.
Ooh, nice.
And he went and he was like, yeah, I ate so much food, and they sent me home with he's like, they sent me home with some oven bread, and I was like, oh. Dude,
so that means they like him.
Yeah,
they really like him.
Yeah,
and our aunties can cook. Like that's my favorite.
Yeah,
like you take your like bowl of red chili. And then you like throw your potato salad in it and just like mix it up and make it like,
dude. Well, so it's like, all right. So what would Indigenous Peoples Day look like for us?
I would want it to be like,
is it the kind of thing where like everybody just holds like another like feast day almost, or like a
yeah.
I could see a giant shift. I could see us reappropriating Thanksgiving and moving it to Indigenous Peoples Day.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? At least I think that would be cool.
So it's more of a get together with your family.
Yeah, to celebrate that we're alive, that we made it. Like
celebrate our brownness.
I think that like our Holocaust gets overlooked far more than, and it's not like I'm trying to like not sit here and be like our plight is worse than another.
We're not here to compare.
I'm just I'm brown, and we survived so much atrocities. Like, that should be a day to celebrate that our ancestors made it one more day to make us happen, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, did you guys, are you guys planning to do anything?
Oh, my kid, we're calling out of school.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
we're calling out of school. I'm going to take my kids to the jump house, like our jump place. Like, yeah.
Nice. Gonna do it up.
Yeah.
I got to work.
Call off,
man.
You tell them, dude.
I'm doing native stuff.
This is my day.
You like, what you do is you take your hair down. You're like,
yeah.
You take off your shirt and you get bare chested and you just say, I'm native.
No, I want to paint up my face. I'm not going shirtless.
Shirtless.
Yeah, get some flute music.
You know,
play
some,
get real intense in everyone's face. Just play flute music really loud.
Yeah, that's what you do in your office. Yeah. You have your native flute music going, and if you can burn some sage.
I'm gonna burn some sage all over the.
Smell barbecuing.
You're gonna set the sprinklers off.
Like, you cooking chicken in here? What you got? Loving herbs and spices.
Yeah, no, just maybe that's what it should be. If you got to work, you make it real apparent that it is Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah.
All right.
You gotta celebrate.
Let that hair down.
Yeah.
You know, throw on a choker and
wear your best moccasins.
Yeah.
The ones without the holes.
Exactly. That's the way you do it. All right, guys. You guys got anything else we want to mention today? About,
you know, like, that's the thing is we don't get very many holidays. You know, I can't remember the last time anything's been indigenous in a holiday form. But let's go out there and make it the best one we can.
Yeah. Let's not take it for granted, because like you said, there's a lot of people that worked for this over the years. The Sasheen Little Feathers, you know, the Russell Means, you know,
the AIM movement.
Yeah,
you know, all of that.
Yeah, and it's there was a lot of people that went before us, you know, in striving for something like this, you know, and we shouldn't let it go to the wayside, you know. It isn't necessarily just another day, you know what I mean? Just at least, if anything,
we may joke about it, but at the same time, that's how we process our traumas.
So yeah, go out there, have some oven bread, make some fry bread,
dude,
some
mutton stew. Best Indian you
and
can
see,
be.
that's the thing. It's like our frame. Like, our frame is like that of like the Southwest. So it's like the Pueblo side, the Navajo side.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what it would look like if we were like, I don't know, more plains, more north up into Canada. You know, what does that look like?
Oh, you know what? In fact, let's take this little clip and let's make it into a thing that we'll post before the episode drops.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll post it the Saturday before.
Okay.
And let's see. I want to see if how people celebrated. Did you guys make something? Did you guys cook some food together?
Let's make
if
it a
that's
thing.
the case, what was the food? Is it something that is important to your tribe? You know, like out here, you know, Navajos, we love fry bread.
Yeah.
Pueblo people, we love some
oven bread
and some stew. Yeah. So
we love
send
pies.
us some.
Oh my god.
Yes. If you're out there and you are celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day and you're cooking up a feast, let's see it. Yeah. Let's do. What should the hashtag be? Quick. Hashtag Indigenous People. It's just Indigenous Peoples Day.
I don't know.
Indigenous Peoples Feast.
Yeah, there you go.
Hashtag Indigenous Peoples Feast, guys. And yeah, let's see it. I want to see. I want to see what you guys are making. And we'll
catch you on the flip side.
Catch you next week. All right, guys. Hope you guys have a good week.
Yeah. See you remember to rate, review, and subscribe and share.
Yes, all of them. Every time.
Check you later.
Nice.
Check you later.
This episode is brought to you by Chichi Yasha.